It's such a drag when you play a game that you've been looking forward to for so long and it ends up sort of breaking your heart. That's exactly the case with Abzû. This is a game that's been on my radar for a long time because I am an enormous fan of that game company's classic Journey and Flower. And Giant Squid, who is the developer of Abzû, has some pedigree and some relationships and some history with those two classic games. And Abzû borrows very heavily from the design ideas and the concepts and the sort of free-flowing aspects of both Flower and Journey, and combines them into kind of an underwater variation of some of those same gameplay dynamics that we saw in those two amazing adventure games or exploration games. It's hard to typify these things. It's really hard to kind of put them into a container and say this is exactly what the experience is, because these titles really kind of let us kind of imagine things, and they evoked emotion more than they evoked, sort of minute-to-minute kind of twitchy kind of game design. And that's what I love so much about Flower and Journey. And Abzû definitely taps into that vein a little bit. There is this sort of mysterious kind of overtone and this sort of shadow that's cast on the narrative for the game, this sort of narrative that you create as you go. But it doesn't really satisfy in the same way that either Flower or Journey did, because I feel like the game just suffers from too much been there, done that, and it's unfortunate. One of the other things that kind of undermines the experience of Abzû is the closed-in quality of the game. You just don't feel like you can go off in every direction. It does feel, I mean, it's quite expansive, and you are able to explore lots of cool areas, and you encounter all kinds of unbelievable underwater wildlife. But it does feel like the developers are kind of pushing you in a direction, and what at first feels like, wow, this endless sea to explore with all of this unbelievable wildlife quickly devolves into, well, you're looking for a little tunnel and you float through the tunnel, and then for a chunk of time you might go down this kind of water raft thing where you're getting pushed along with the currents, and there are lots of other fish that you can communicate by pressing the square button. You kind of do that over and over again. So you have these sort of wider open-ended areas that you can tool around in and encounter fish and grab onto them and ride on different fish and learn about them a little bit, I guess, just from the way that they move about inside of the environment. Of course, you encounter orca and you encounter dolphins and you encounter even giant whales in here, which and some other cool stuff, which are beautiful, and it's unbelievable to experience. And I don't want to take away any of the sheer beauty of this game. I mean, it is a gorgeous experience. The graphics are really cool. Once again, they're, sort of lightly textured in the Journey vein. It's a little bit more stylized, a little bit more kind of shapes and patterns to evoke the image and the animation of things that you're a little bit more familiar with. But they're kind of created with as little art as possible. And maybe that helps the developers to create scenes and moments in the game where there are literally thousands of fish swimming all over the place. But it certainly doesn't look photoreal, but at the same time, it looks so painterly and so beautiful and so lush and so rich with life that you can't quibble about the visual power of this game. It is a gorgeous deep dive into beautiful artistic design, absolutely. I just feel like it doesn't hit you with that same sort of awe, that same sort of like, oh my God, I've just uncovered something about this game and this experience and about myself. Now with Journey, of course, it was that anonymous multiplayer experience where you didn't know the other person that you would encounter along the way, and you would solve things together. And with Flower, you were literally bringing the world to life. And both of those were just brand new, just out of nowhere types of experiences. And Abzû doesn't really feel that way. It feels like you are almost the character from Journey, and you get to jump into the water, and you have lots of cool mobility and these flippers and fins that allow you to, move through the water quickly or jump up out of the water like a dolphin. It's certainly lush, it's certainly hypnotic, it's certainly beautiful, but all of that stuff you can kind of just tell by watching this review. You just sort of can see the visual kind of impact that this is going to have. I honestly got a little bored playing this thing. I felt like I was being led along. And, you know, I hate to come down on this game because I'm such a fan of independent development and trying to come up with ideas that are different from other video games out there. And certainly Abzû qualifies, but I got to tell you, I just wasn't that entertained by it. I wasn't that kind of blown away by the experience. And I love that we're getting a lot more exploration type of video game content out there. I think that's great, and certainly the hat tip has to go to Journey and to Flower. But I also think when you come out with this kind of title, the responsibility is on the developers to kind of elevate and to bring us something really fresh and new. But unfortunately, as the swimming component and the underwater kind of exploration component, as cool as it is, doesn't feel fresh or new or satisfying enough. There are some kind of ambiguous mysteries that you solve the deeper that you get into this title, no pun intended. I mean, I dig that I got to jump in and have this experience. I just wouldn't say that, you know, this is, like Firewatch is something that I would spend my money on way before I jumped into Abzû, you know? And if you haven't played Journey, if you haven't played Flower, you absolutely need to search those ones out before you jump into Abzû. It's amazing if you are an oceanographer or if you're studying marine biology or something, or if you just love swimming, certainly this is your type of game. If you love the underwater sequences in Uncharted or in Tomb Raider, this might be your type of game as well. I did have fun with it. I just wasn't blown away by it, and it started to get a little boring. And I got to the end of the game, and it's like, well, I didn't hit those meditation points, and I didn't discover some of these seashells or something. I just kind of walked away a little bit underwhelmed, and it breaks my heart to say that. Abzû, you're cool. You're just not as cool as I wanted you to be. I'm giving you a 6.5 out of 10. Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.